This is one of the most extensive and detailed Wikipedia articles for any music album, and really rightfully so. Let's go through this. Here's a story for those who aren't yet aware of it. It's very captivating. Listen now. As a teenager, Nas wanted to pursue a career as a rapper and enlisted his best friend and neighbour, Willie Ill Will Graham, as his DJ. Nas initially went by the nickname Kid Wave before adopting the alias Nasty Nas. At the age of 15, he met producer Large Professor from Flushing, Queens, who introduced him to his group Main Source. Breaking Atoms is an amazing album. I don't think I've mentioned that on this channel yet. That's a phenomenal piece of work. Anyway, Nas made his recorded debut with them on the opening verse live at the barbecue from their 1991 album Breaking Atoms. Nas subsequently made his solo debut on his 1992 single Halftime for the soundtrack to the film Zebrahead. The single added to the buzz surrounding Nas, earning him comparisons to the highly influential Golden Age rapper Rakim. Despite his buzz in the underground scene, Nas did not receive an offer for a recording contract and was rejected by major rap labels such as Cold Chillin' and Def Jam Recordings. Nas and Ill Will continued to work together, but their partnership was cut short when Graham was murdered by a gunman in Queensbridge on May 23, 1992. Nas' brother was also shot that night, but survived. Nas decided that moment as a wake-up call for him. In mid-1992, MC Search, whose group Third Base had dissolved, began working on a solo project and approached Nas. At the suggestion of producer T. Ray, Search collaborated with Nas for Back to the Grill, the lead single for Search's 1992 solo debut album, Return of the Product. At the recording session for the song, Search discovered that Nas did not have a recording contract and subsequently contacted Faith Newman, an A&R executive at Sony Music Entertainment. As Search recounted, Nas was in a position where his demo had been sitting around, Live at the Barbecue was already a classic and he was just trying to find a decent deal, so when he gave me his demo, I shopped it around. I took it to Russell first. Russell said it sounded like G-rap. He wasn't with it. So I took it to Faith. Faith loved it. She said she'd been looking for Nas for over a year and a half. They wouldn't let me leave the office without a deal on the table. Once MC Search assumed the role of executive producer for Nas' debut project, he attempted to connect Nas with various producers. Numerous New York-based producers were eager to work with the up-and-coming rapper and went to Powerhouse Studios with Nas. Among those producers was DJ Premier, recognized at the time for his raw and aggressive jazz sample-based production and heavy scratching, and for his work with rapper Guru as a part of the hip-hop duo Gangstar. After his production on Lord Finesse and DJ Mike Smooth's Funky Technician 1990, and Jerry Vidamage's The Sunrises in the East 1994, brilliant classic, Premier began recording exclusively at D&D Studios in New York City before working with Nas on Illmatic. Prior to recording, DJ Premier listened to Nas' debut single and later stated, "When I heard Halftime, that was some next shit to me. That's just as classic to me as Eric B. for President and The Bridge. It just had that type of effect. As simple as it is, all of the elements are there. So from that point, after Search approached me about doing some cuts, it was automatic. It'd be stupid to pass that up even if it wasn't paying no money." Search later noted the chemistry between Nas and DJ Premier, recounting that Primo and Nas, they could have been separated at birth. It wasn't a situation where his beats fit their rhymes, they fit each other. While Search reached out to DJ Premier, a Large Professor contacted Pete Rock to collaborate with Nas on what became The World Is Yours. Shortly afterwards, LES, a DJ in Nas's Queensbridge neighborhood, and A Tribe Called Quest's Q-Tip, and chose to work on the album. Life's a Bitch contains a cornet solo performed by Nas' father, Olu Dara. The song also features Brooklyn-based rapper AZ. A quote from DJ Premier on the recording of the song New York State of Mind: "Nas didn't know how he was going to come in, but he just started going because we were recording. I'm actually yelling, 'We're recording,' and banging on the vocal booth window, 'Come on, get ready.' You hear him start the shit, rappers, and then everyone in the studio was like, 'Oh my god,' because it was so unexpected. He was not ready, so he used that first verse, and that was when he was up and coming, his first album, so he was like, yo, this guy is going to be big." In an early promotional interview, Nas claimed that the name Illmatic, meaning beyond ill or the ultimate, was a reference to his incarcerated friend Illmatic Ice. Nas later described the title name as Supreme Ill. It's as ill as the ill gets. That shit is a science of everything ill. At the time of its recording, expectations in the hip-hop scene were high for Illmatic. In a 1994 interview for The Source, which dubbed him the Second Coming, referring to Rakim, Nas spoke highly of the album, saying that this feels like a big project that's going to affect the world. We're in here on the download, doing something for the world. That's how it feels, that's what it is. For all the ones that think it's all about some rough shit, talking about guns all the time, but no science behind it, we're going to bring it to them like this. AZ recounted recording on the album. I got on Nas' album and did the Life's a Bitch song, but even then I thought I was terrible on it, to be honest. But once people started hearing that and liking it, that's what built my confidence. I thought, okay, I can probably do this. That record was everything. To be the only person featured on Illmatic when Nas is considered one of the top men in New York at that time, one of the freshest new artists, that was big. During the sessions, Nas composed the song Nas Is Like, which he later recorded as a single for his 1999 album I Am. Concerning the recording of the album's opening song, New York State of Mind, producer DJ Premier later said, when we did New York State of Mind, at the beginning when he says, straight out of the dungeons of rap, where fake N-words don't make it back, then you hear him say, I don't know how to start this shit, because he had just written it. He's got the beat running in the studio, but he doesn't know how he's going to format, how he's going to convey it. So he's going, I don't know how to start this shit, and I'm counting him in to begin the verse, 1, 2, 3. Then you hear him go, yo, and then he goes right into it. Illmatic contains highly discerning treatment of its subject matter, gang rivalries, desolation, and the ravages of urban poverty. Nas, who was 20 years old when the album was released, focuses on depicting his own experiences, creating highly detailed first-person narratives that deconstruct the troubled life of an inner-city teenager. Jeff Weiss of Pitchfork describes the theme of the album as a story of a gifted writer born into squalor trying to claw his way out of the trap. It's somewhere between the Basketball Diaries and Native Son. The narratives featured in Illmatic originate from Nas' own experiences as an adolescent growing up in the Queensbridge housing projects located in the Long Island City section of Queens. Nas said in an interview in 2001, when I made Illmatic, I was a little kid in Queensbridge trapped in the ghetto. My soul was trapped in Queensbridge projects. In a 2012 interview, he explained his inspiration for exploring this subject matter. When my rap generation started, it was about bringing you inside my apartment. It wasn't about being a rap star, it was about anything other than. I want you to know who I am, what the streets taste like, feel like, smell like, what the cops talk like, walk like, think like, what crackheads do. I wanted you to smell it, feel it. It was important to me that I told the story that way because I thought that it wouldn't be told if I didn't tell it. I thought this was a great point in time in the 1990s in New York City that needed to be documented and my life needed to be told. Nas's depictions of project life alternate from moments of pain and pleasure to frustration and braggadocio. The columnist for OWord.com wrote, his narrative voice swerves between personas that are cynical and optimistic, naive and world-weary, enraged and serene, globally conscious and provincial. Jeff Weiss describes the enduring image often associated with Nas' narrated stream of consciousness, a baby-faced Buddha monk in public housing, scribbling lotto dreams and Grim Reaper nightmares in dollar notebooks, words enjambed on the margins. The only light in the orange glow of a blunt, liquor, bodega liquor, and the adolescent rush of first creation. Sometimes his pen taps the paper and his brain blanks. In the next sentence he remembers dark streets and the noose. Critic and blogger Kenny Waste comments on the significance of Queensbridge as a setting in Illmatic, writing, the songs are made up largely of recollections, or Nas describing his emotions, which range from feeling trapped to overt optimism about his abilities to escape the hands of doom, but they always remain within the walls of his Queensbridge home. Along with its narratives, Illmatic is also distinct for its many portrayals and descriptions of places, people, and interactions. In his songs, Nas often depicts the corners and boulevards of Queensbridge, while mentioning the names of streets, friends, local crews, and drug dealers, and utilizing vernacular slang indigenous to his hometown. Poet and author Kevin Koval describes this approach to songwriting as that of a hip-hop poet reporter, rooted in the intimate specificity of locale. Commenting on Nas' use of narrative, Sohail Dolatsai, professor of film and media studies at University of Southern California, compares the album to cinema, citing its detailed descriptions, dense reportage, and visually stunning rhymes. In Born to Use Mics, reading Nas's Illmatic, he writes, like the 1965 landmark masterpiece film The Battle of Algiers, a masterpiece indeed, which captured the Algerian resistance against French colonialism, Illmatic brilliantly blurred the lines between fiction and documentary, creating a heightened sense of realism and visceral eloquence for Nas's renegade first-person narratives and character-driven odes. I'm going to pause the themes tab here for now. You can finish it on your own leisure if you'd like. I just don't want to... There's a lot here and I don't want to just spew it all out here. You can search for yourself in your own time if you're so inclined. On the production, Illmatic also garnered praise for its production. According to critics, the album's 5 major producers, Large Professor, DJ Premier, Pete Rock, Q-Tip, and LES, extensively contributed to the cohesive atmospheric aesthetic that permeated the album, while still retaining each's individual trademark sound. For instance, DJ Premier's production on the album is noted by critics for his minimalist style, which featured simple loops over heavy beats. Charles Aaron of Spin wrote of the producer's contributions, nudging him toward Rakim-like rumination. They offer subdued, slightly downcast beats, which in hip-hop today means jazz, primarily of the 70s keyboard-vibed variety. Q Magazine noted that the musical backdrops are razor-sharp, hard beats but with melodic hooks and loops, atmospheric background piano, strings or muted trumpet, and samples, a potent treat. One music critic wrote that Illmatic is laced with some of the finest beats this side of In Control Volume 1. The majority of the album consists of vintage funk, soul, and jazz samples. Commenting on the album and its use of samples, Pitchfork's Jeff Weiss claims that both Nas and his producers found inspiration for the album's production through the music of their childhood. The loops drummage through their parents' collection, Donald Byrd, Joe Chambers, Ahmad Jamal, Parliament, Michael Jackson. Nas invites his Rolling Stone father, Olu Dara, to blow the trumpet coda on Life's a Bitch. Jazz rap fusion had been done well prior, but rarely with such subtlety. Nas didn't need to make the connection explicit. He allowed you to understand what jazz was like the first time your parents and grandparents heard it. Similarly, journalist Ben Yu comments on the album's nostalgic sounds, the production accentuated by infectious organ loops, vocal samples, and synthesizer-like pads in the background, places your mind in a cheerful, reminiscent mood. Now, the last tab I'd like to read out on this Wikipedia article, again, do search out this piece for yourself. It's very, very impressive. Well, of course, do seek out Illmatic in your own time, though I assume you've already heard it. And if you haven't, even if you're not a hip-hop fan, do listen to Illmatic. You have to hear Illmatic. You'll probably enjoy it. I'd wager that. Anyway, I'd like to read out this tab here. Yeah, this hip-hop debates. Illmatic has also helped to shape the attitudes and perceptions of hip-hop fans who cherish it as a music template that defines the genre's conventions. As music critic Jeff Weiss, again, writes, Illmatic is the gold standard that boom-bap connoisseurs refer to in the same way that baby boomers talk about Highway 61 Revisited. Illmatic might be better than Highway 61 Revisited, because it's like, at the end of the day, like, it's just a Bob Dylan album. Who honestly cares? Like, are his lyrics that good? No. Move on. The evidence they point to when they want to say, this is how good it can be. New York Times columnist John Caramanica also credits the album with inadvertently spawning hip-hop's counterculture. Illmatic, he writes, mobilized a national network of dissidents craving something true to the streets, but eager to distance themselves from what was beginning to be perceived as a scourge, gangster rap. According to Caramanica, Nas' debut was received by these fans as a rebuke towards trends that were beginning to shape mainstream rap. The pop crossover, the exuberant production values, and the splintering of rap into blithe and concerned wings. For this reason, Caramanica considers Illmatic to be unusually significant to the intellectual development of the hip-hop genre, yet he also remains critical of the divisiveness spawned by its zealots. In his essay, Nighttime is More Trife Than Ever, The Many Misuses of Nas, he writes, Illmatic is responsible for countless pointless rap versus hip-hop debates, a shocking amount of hip-hop self-righteousness, the emergence of the backpack movement as something more than a regional curio, and the persistence of the idea that lyricism is the only standard great rap music should be held to. Commenting on these polarized debates, Jeff Weiss suggests that Illmatic is best heard by ignoring the dogma, culture wars, Nas clones, and would-be saviors that have accelerated since April of 1994. Who cares whether it's the greatest rap album of all time or not? And it's an example of how great rap can be, but not necessarily the way it should be. Hey, stellar album. Do seek it out if you're so inclined. Thanks again, my friends.